Are you the player that is always backing up right when the ball is hit to you? And you're taking the ball as it's dropping, right off your knees, right off your ankles? I'm Mike Manzella from Off Court Tennis. Today I wanted to talk about how you can take your opponent's time away, execute by simply just taking the ball at the peak. And the bonus is you never have to even try and hit the ball harder. The main reason we want to take the ball at the peak of the bounce as tennis players is because primarily that's when the ball is the most still. So for example, if I just drop the ball right here to give you an idea of what the peak actually means, when I drop it right about there, when it no longer is rising or falling, is the base of the peak of the bounce. Again, the reason we emphasize this is to make sure that the ball is the most still. This helps us with timing, it helps us with our direction and our accuracy in order to be able to dictate what we want to do with the ball. Now, the caveat to this is that sometimes this is not always going to happen. So, and we'll demo that here in just a minute. What I want to point out is that, for instance, if the ball was peaking up here, way above my shoulder, okay, because let's say maybe someone hits a big lob or a moon ball, that is not going to be possible. We do not want to sacrifice our strike zone, which is typically between our hips and our shoulders, to just simply take the ball at the peak above our shoulders. So that in that case, we would want to either then let the ball drop or move in and take it as it's rising to ensure the fact that we can maintain impact somewhere between our hips and shoulders. Primarily speaking though, what's going to happen when you have players that are hitting, the majority of the time, the peak should end up somewhere being in between your hips and shoulders. Okay, so I wanted to give you a quick visual example of what it looks like to take the ball at the peak of the bounce. So again, I want you to pay close attention to the exact point of impact in terms of two things: where I'm hitting it between my hips and shoulders, as well as very closely watching where that ball is going to start peaking. Okay, let's give it a try. Okay, so what I'm doing, okay, is I'm waiting for the ball to peak right about there, and that's when I'm trying to time my impact. And again, the purpose of this is that it allows me to create better timing, because at that point right there, that's when the ball is peaking. I have the most amount of stillness from the ball. Okay, so in this next example, what we want to do is I'm going to show you again in a situation where you may be receiving a really deep, heavy, high topspin ball. It's not possible to take the ball at the peak in this specific situation. So I'm going to stop it at the peak of the bounce so you can kind of see exactly what I'm talking about here. Okay, so you can see the ball is peaking up here. That is way too high for me to be trying to make impact with that. So this is one of the deviations to the rule. Okay, so in this example, I'm going to receive the same feed, and I want you to watch. And this time I'm going to work on taking the ball as it's rising and timing it somewhere between my hips and my shoulders so that I do not let the peak get above my shoulder, thus it being out of my strike zone. So one more time, let's give it a try. Keep going. There we go. Okay, so in this second instance, I'm going to get a similar ball, but you're going to see that I may not necessarily be able to adjust in order to take the ball on the rise. Okay, so in this instance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for the ball to peak, and then it's going to drop into my strike zone. This may or may not change based on your levels. So if you're at a 3.5 to 4.0 level or above, you may have a skill set to be able to take the ball early. If you're a 2-5, 3-0, or you're just starting to play, you're a pure beginner, this is going to be really difficult to time. So I would probably recommend, if you're an intermediate to low intermediate to a beginner player, you want to be letting the ball peak and fall. All right, so we're going to show you just now what that looks like. So in this instance, that ball's coming high. I'm going to let it peak, but fall. There we go. So I need to get back and let it come down. Yep. One more time. So I need to get back. Right, I'm getting back, I'm letting it fall, and taking the ball still somewhere between my hips and my shoulders. Okay, I hope that was helpful. The 3 things you want to remember, okay? Number 1, taking the ball at the peak. If it's not possible, take it early as it's rising, somewhere between your hips and your shoulders. Thirdly, taking the ball on the downfall, probably having to back up. Again, still making sure that the impact is between your hips and your shoulders. I hope that helped. Smash the thumbs up button, give us a subscribe, give it a try.